Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Candy, and we are here this afternoon to discuss the energy clearing protocol. And so I'm going to get started and talk about that. So I have been a nurse for a very long time, and I became very, very ill and did not know what was happening to my body. And I went to several doctors, and I was wrongly diagnosed several times with several different diseases. I was told I had several different things, up to and including carcinoid cancer. So I was sent to a cancer center for a week to be called by an oncologist at the end of the week to tell me that there was no cancer in my body, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. So I came home from that cancer center and spent 3 days literally in a state of shock. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn, and I was lost, basically. On the third day, I sat down in front of my computer, and I just didn't know what to do. I had suddenly saw myself in the bottom of this pit, and I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. And I literally made the sign of the cross and said, "Dear God, please don't let me die. I'm not ready to go. Please don't make me leave my daughter and my sister and my mother, and I'm begging you." And I did beg him. And then I pointed to my computer and I said, "I'm not looking for the answer. I'll find the answer. I just ask for your guidance. And I do this in Jesus' name, amen." And I made the sign of the cross. I'm not here to preach spirituality. I'm not trying to push my beliefs on anybody else. I'm just telling the story of what happened to me, and hopefully it doesn't offend anybody. And so the next day I woke up and I got on the computer and I started looking at different symptoms and how it pertained to disease in the body. And I found a page on chronic fatigue syndrome, and I found a page on fibromyalgia. And instantly by looking at the symptom list, I realized, oh my goodness, this is what I have. And so I took it to my physician, and he wouldn't listen to me. He dismissed me. And so I got very upset as a nurse and as a healthcare professional, and I felt that I was very disrespected and not taken seriously, which was very offensive to me. And so I went home and I proceeded to take a 3-ring binder and went to every doctor that I had been to and gotten every test result that they had done to me and put it together in a 3-ring binder like a patient chart, which I was very familiar with. And so I went to a new doctor and I sat down, and he walked in and he said, "Good afternoon. I'm Dr. So-and-so, and what can I do for you today?" And I said to him very politely, "What you can do for me, doctor, is sit down and close your mouth and open your ears. I just need somebody to listen to me." And he said to me, "I can do that." And I said, "Thank you very much." And he sat down. And I proceeded to tell him that I had been wrongly diagnosed and yada, yada, like I had just proceeded to tell all of you. And so I was fortunate in the fact that this medical doctor took me very seriously and sent me to neurology and rheumatology and oncology and hematology and on it went. And so within a few weeks, I was properly diagnosed, and yes, in fact, it was determined that I had chronic fatigue syndrome and I had fibromyalgia. And so I realized I had diagnosed myself, that I didn't wait for a physician to do that because they're out golfing and taking their wife to dinner and dropping their son at soccer practice, and they're not interested in what was killing me. So after I found out what my diagnosis was, I went home and put it onto the computer and sent it out into this little forum that I was in with other people who were very sick, and told everybody, "Wow, I'm so excited. I finally have been diagnosed and I know what's wrong. I have chronic fatigue and fibro." And then I began to look for the information related to that, and I found mycoplasma manipulated by Merck Pharmaceuticals in 1952, and there's a wonderful article out there entitled "The Linking Pathogen in Neurosystemic Disease," written by Donald Scott, who is a professor out of Canada. It was published in Nexus magazine, and it talks about mycoplasmas in the 50s. And so I started to learn about that. And from there I learned about tainted polio vaccines that were also given in the 50s. And then I learned about chemtrails. And then I learned about Lyme disease and the co-infections of Lyme, and how Lyme was built as a bioweapon on Plum Island, Long Island, New York, and how this bioweapon was placed into ticks as a vector and released in the city of Old Lyme, Connecticut. And that's how the disease started back in the, let's say, early 70s, I believe. And so I do believe that that is part of what we're dealing with. And so many people are sick with Lyme, many people are sick with Morgellons, many people are sick with many different things, and many people don't even know what it is that's making them so sick. And so as I began to figure out what was wrong with me, I said that I had put it out into this little forum that I was in. And the next day I woke up and a complete stranger had written to me and told me, find this form of acupressure and go. It is the only thing that will save your life. And she signed her name, and I didn't even know who she was. And without question, I just went immediately to Google and put in the word that she told me to use and put the nearest city where I live. And I found a chiropractor 20 minutes from my front door who was, in fact, doing this treatment, which is a miracle in itself considering I live in upstate New York, which is mostly farmland, and it's kind of very rural. And the odds of having a practitioner that close to me was just beyond miraculous. And so I proceeded to make an appointment and go and see this person who had emailed me back after I had asked for an appointment and said to me, please do not give up. Miracles happen every day. And the minute I read that sentence, I just knew in my heart that this was what was going to help me. And I don't know how I knew that. I just knew it. And so I went to my first appointment, and I was very, very sick. By this point, I was 270 pounds, very overweight, very, very sick with over 70 symptoms, and very heavy and overweight. And so I started seeing him on June 12th, and I went to his office, and he proceeded to explain quantum physics to me for about 20 minutes. And when he was finished speaking, I told him that I don't think he understood the fact that my brain was not comprehending anything that he said because I couldn't think straight literally. It was one of the reasons I was there to see him. And so he proceeded just to treat me, and I didn't understand fully what he was doing to me until probably after 4 or 5 clearings that I had had, that my brain was clear and that I could comprehend and understand and connect dots of what he was telling me. And so I sat on his table, and he had these little glass vials, and each vial had a label on it. And there were different groupings of them, and some of them were organs and glands and systems, and some of them were foods and vitamins and minerals. And other ones were hormones and inflammation response and immune system and cardiovascular and all of these different things pertaining to the human body and everything we put in the body or even on and around the body. And so after probably my 5th visit, I asked him to re-explain to me everything he had told me the first day because now I could remember. And so he proceeded to explain it to me like this. And part of this is something that I've come up with when I talk about the computer aspect of it. I came up with that idea so that people could relate and try to understand what we're doing all at the same level. Everybody understands how the computer works. So I correlate the clearings and our bodies as a computer, and you'll see how I do that. So I began to see him, and he told me this. All matter vibrates. Everything that exists here on the planet, everything that is here, has a vibration. And because it vibrates, it releases energy. And the energy that is released from that specific item can be measured. It doesn't matter what the item is. Let's say it's a tomato, and let's put it in the lines of a tomato has its own aura, if you will. It has its own energy field. And so in the 60s, there was a chiropractor who figured out something called muscle testing. It's called applied kinesiology. And so if you were to take, let's say, a tomato and place it into somebody's left hand, you ask them to extend their right hand completely out straight in front of them, and you ask them to push up against the sky, to push up towards the sky, As you have your fingers near their wrist and you are pushing down, you will feel that the person is either very strong and holds that in a very locked position, or you will find that person's arm falls what we refer to as muscle weak. They will not be able to hold their arm in a strong and locked position, which indicates a sensitivity. And so when we have something that we're sensitive to, we will test muscle weak for that item. What it means in turn is our bodies are like computers, and we have a certain amount of information in our data bank. And there are certain things very custom to each and every one of us that we are sensitive to, or a specific organ, gland, or system that isn't balanced and working properly. And so this becomes a very customized treatment protocol because it's going to put in the information into your specific data bank that is missing. When you have missing information, it creates the sensitivity. When you have the sensitivity, you test muscle weak. When you clear the sensitivity and re-muscle test, you are now strong. So it shows you at the end of the clearing that, yes, that information has been put into my data bank. And now when I eat, let's say, a tomato, my body will recognize that tomato and know what to do with it and break it down and give me all of the wonderful vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that my body needs from the tomato. When you are sensitive to a tomato or any other food, vitamin, mineral, and you are putting these things into the body causes stress. And so everybody says, oh, I love to eat this certain food, but every time I do, I get such an upset stomach. It really bothers me. This food doesn't agree with me. And you're absolutely right. Your body is screaming at you, trying to tell you, I don't recognize this. I don't know what to do with this. I'm very confused. I'm very stressed out, and I'm trying to let you know that you need to fix this. You can't put this in me anymore because I don't like it, because I don't recognize it. It's almost like a foreign invader to your body. And so by clearing ourselves for foods, we put that frequency of that food, whatever it is, each food has its own frequency, but we put that information into the data bank. And so as I was touching these vials, these companies got really smart, and they took little glass vials, and they measured the electromagnetic field of different things, basically everything on the planet. And they created a software program in the computer, and they upload the signature into the vial. So now instead of me having a closet full of groceries as a practitioner and trying to muscle test my patients for lettuce and tomato and cucumber and all of these different things, there are vials for that. So the person touches the vial, and we muscle test the strength of the arm. And for all of the things that the person tests weak for, doesn't matter if it's an organ, a gland, a system, a food, a hormone, a vitamin, a mineral, it doesn't matter what it is. I tested muscle weak for that specific one because it's missing from my data bank. And so by holding this container, my skin is porous, and my body is picking up the electromagnetic signatures of all of these things that I'm holding in my hand. And so he proceeded to tap up and down my spine with his hand from the back of my head all the way down to the bottom of my spine, and then back up again to the middle of my head. And he did that 8 times. And when you go down, it's called 1, and when you come back up, it's 2, and on and on. And so you tap the spine 8 times. And in essence, what he was doing was waking up my central nervous system. He was turning on my computer. And so as my computer is turning on, and my hand is against these frequencies, my skin is porous, and my skin is absorbing the frequency. So my computer is turning on, and the circle is going around, and as it goes around and touches my both hands, it picks up the frequencies, and it begins to put it into your body. Now, when these frequencies travel in the body, they travel in a circular motion. And so you do the acupressure around the body in a circular motion. You rub each spot in a circular motion as you go around the body. And you unblock the pathways that these electromagnetic fields flow on through your body. And the Chinese, the Eastern people have known this for a very, very long time, that acupressure and acupuncture works, and people do feel better after doing it. And it's true, because over time and with age and with all of these things happening to our bodies, these pathways are becoming very blocked, and these EMS, if you will, can't travel and do what they have to do in their circle. And so that's part of the clearing. And so I went to this practitioner, and I touched these vials, and he tested my strength, and he put them in a dish, and I held the dish, and he tapped my spine, and he did acupressure around my body, and he sent me home to drink water. And so after my first clearing, I got in the car, and I'm driving up the road, and all of a sudden I looked at the sky, and I said, really? I'm expected to believe that I'm going to touch some little glass vials and whack my back and rub my body and send me home, and I'm supposed to drink water, and that's going to make me all better. And in the next, I just took a deep breath because I was kind of exasperated. I didn't know what to do and how I was supposed to believe this. But in the next breath, I just stated, let it be your will, because I didn't know what else to do. I just had handed it right over and said, okay, this is what I'm trying. I don't know how it works. I don't understand it. I don't know how I'm expected to believe in it, but I'm just going to go with it. And so I did. And so by the third day after my clearing, I noticed that I had started feeling better, and I'd started kind of moving around better, and I just felt different, and I knew that it was different in a positive way. I couldn't really understand things yet. My brain wasn't completely cleared, but I could notice subtle changes in my body within 3 days. And so I continued to see him once a week for about the first 4 weeks, and then after that I went every 2 weeks. And within about 3 months, I was back to normal. I had lost probably 35 to 40 pounds in 3 months, and it was just astounding. I mean, I couldn't believe that I could think, and I could walk up and down stairs, and I could actually have a meal and not get sick, and I could do all of these things that I had not been able to do for the 3 years that I suffered very, very desperately. And so as I'm learning and having the clearing, there was a gentleman from South Africa who sent me an article on Morgellons, and I had never heard of it. And so I opened up the article, and I'm looking at the photos, and I put it into Google, and I went searching. And I realized that I had, in fact, opened Pandora's box. And so I didn't know what to do. And I went to another forum, and I found a woman there who was talking about this stuff, and I didn't understand what she was talking about, but I knew that she knew what she was talking about. And so I built my own web page and asked her to come and work with me in this website, and the two of us could try to figure this out together. And she agreed. And so she came over, and we started Morgboard. And so we have this forum, and her and I start bouncing ideas back and forth, between each other. And she lives in Michigan, and I'm in New York, and we're writing back and forth. And within weeks, there were hundreds of people at the site. And within months, there were thousands of people at the site. And people sharing their stories and their pictures and their photographs and telling us what happened to them and how they became sick and all of these things. And we realized very quickly, whoa, what did we do? We didn't mean for all of this. It was just for her and I. And now all of a sudden we have all of these people. And we're realizing how big, in fact, this really is and how many people are affected by it. And so these people, after a while, some of them got together and decided we need to form a formal team. So we decided to form Morgellons Research Group. And there's a handful of us. And we decided that we would put together this team, and we would do some research, and we'd make a website, and we would produce our information and hopefully help people connect dots and put up protocols to help people get well and go from there. And so we did all of that. And so they called me one afternoon and told me that I had to go to Oregon and do a conference, that we were going to do a professional conference. And so I flew to Oregon, and there was 21 people, and we conferenced for 5 days. So before the conference happened, about 2 weeks before I went there, I received a call from a gentleman named Will, who said to me, I was just speaking to your associate researcher, Larry, who told me that I should call you. And so Will had questions for me, and I'm speaking to him about muscle testing, and we're talking about clearing the patients for the products that he gives to them to help them get well. And so Will says to me, but Candy, if I don't have the vial, can I just write the name of the organ on a sheet of paper and muscle test the patient for that? And I said, well, absolutely not. This is all very scientific, and you have to measure the electromagnetic field of the item, and you have to upload it into the vial, and the patient has to hold the vial. You have to muscle test the patient. And he said, oh, okay, and our conversation went from there. And so at the end of the conversation, he said to me, can I come to your conference? And I said, well, most certainly. So he came to the conference. And I remember at one point when I first opened Pandora's box to the Morgellons realm, I physically said out loud, oh, dear God, I can't do this by myself. This is unbelievable. How is anybody even supposed to believe any of this? I need to talk to somebody who knows what's going on here. And I found Catherine, and then we built this site, and then we have all of these people. And now we have these serious people who want to form this team and do a website and do all this professional stuff. So we have all of this stuff. And so here I am standing at this conference in the back of the room, and I'm looking around the room and all of the people that are there, who are the people that have been online with me almost every day for the last 4.5 to 5 years, talking to me on the phone, doing all of this work and this research. And now I'm standing in a room with all of them together at the same time. And even some new people that I had recently just met in the prior weeks of the conference, just over the phone, that I didn't really know. And they were all there. And so I'm looking around the room, and all of a sudden my eyes stop on Will. And I thought to myself, why would he ask me if he could write the name of the word on a sheet of paper? It didn't make sense to me, and I couldn't comprehend what would even make him think about that. And then in my next thought, I literally thought to myself, Candy, you don't know everything. And so instead of walking up to Will, who was speaking to somebody else, and I didn't want to interrupt him, and asking him, what were you talking about when you said that, I decided instead to go to the front of the room because I had become a practitioner by now, and I forgot to mention that I had taken my vials with me to the conference in order to clear my research team and make them feel better. So we were doing clearings also as the conference was going on, which was very fun and exciting. So I went up front to the front of the room, and I took my friend Larry, who I knew I hadn't muscle tested and cleared for foods yet. And I thought to myself, I'm going to do a little experiment and see if I can figure out what Will is talking about. And so I took a sheet of paper and I ripped it into 6 pieces, and I wrote the name of a different food on each sheet of paper. And I did beef and chicken and potato and tomato and onion and almond and I don't even know what else. And so I said to Larry, come here and let me try to muscle test you. So I put one word in his hand and I muscle tested him, and he went weak. And he went weak for the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th. And I'm thinking maybe he's weak to the paper or the ink. Maybe he's sensitive to the paper or sensitive to the ink, because it's possible. You can be sensitive to anything that exists. And so the next thing I did was put the word almond in his hand and muscle tested him, and he had strength. He was strong. He was clear for almond. So in a moment, I just realized, wait a minute, how can that be? It doesn't make sense. And so I pulled out my exact vial of the same thing I had written on paper, and I muscle tested him for each vial and came up with the same exact reading. And that's when Will looked at me and said, that's what they mean, Candy, when they say mind over matter. That people do not understand that our brains are super quantum computers. They are amazing. Thoughts are things. Thoughts have power. Thoughts manifest reality. And so once people understand that your thoughts have power, your life literally begins to shift. And it's not just through the clearings, it's through a whole new mindset of how the world really works from a quantum standpoint. And so that's what I try to explain to people. And so that's how I came to learn that, in essence, the vials that I was treated with, the vials that I've been treating people with for years are not necessary. And so once I learned that I could have people literally hold a sheet of paper and put the missing information into their body, it became brought to a whole new level, and that's when I started Energy Clearing Protocol. After putting it out into the universe on the internet and getting some positive response from people who actually printed out the PDF, held them in their hand, tapped up and down their spine, did the acupressure around their body, which takes all of about 3.5 minutes to complete the entire clearing, and drank lots and lots of water and detoxified their organs, their glands, their systems, desensitized themselves to foods and vitamins and minerals so that they started to get proper nutrition and their body was utilizing everything properly, using it in the right fashion, which of course eliminates many symptoms and deficiencies in the body. And so that's how it came to be that this protocol came to life, is that I learned kind of by happenstance that somebody called me 2 weeks before a conference that I'm supposed to go to in Oregon and shows up there, and I do this little experiment with paper and vials and learned that it is possible to do it this way, and people don't have to spend thousands of dollars to have vials to clear themselves with the electromagnetic signature. And so I try to explain it like this. Every person alive on the planet who is capable of comprehending, let's say, what a tomato is, knows what a tomato is. Now, it does not matter if I say the word tomato in English or in Japanese or in Spanish or in Mongolian. It doesn't matter what language you say it in, because of the collective consciousness of the human mind, that we have all determined and decided that the little red round seeded fruit that we use as a vegetable shall be called tomato. And so the word tomato has that frequency, and a tomato has that frequency. And you can think the word tomato, and it will resonate that frequency. And so that's how we came to learn that we can clear literally with sheets of paper. And you can do it with your thought. You can clear by speaking words. There was a woman who came to the site. She was doing clearing. She ended up with a toothache, and she tapped up and down her spine as she said out loud the word mouth and the word tooth. And she came on the board and told us that her toothache resolved. And so once we learn the power of our minds and that we literally can download missing information into our natural data banks very simply and eliminate many symptoms by cleaning out major organs and glands and desensitizing to things that our bodies need in order to function properly, we realize that that's how the clearing works. It works on a quantum level. And so our bodies are like batteries. We have a positive and a negative charge. And so when you muscle test strong for something and you have strength as you're touching or holding something, it means that you are positive, you are fine, and you have a complete balance with that item. When you touch something or hold something and your arm falls muscle weak with muscle testing, that's your body's way of telling you that information is missing from me. I don't know what that is. I'm going to cut off your electrical flow to show you that I don't know what that is. And so by holding something you muscle test weak for, you do the clearing, the entire thing including acupressure. And as soon as the acupressure is complete, you re-muscle test as you're holding the same item, and now your arm will be strong. It is the body's way of indicating and telling you that you have put that information in and that your body has accepted it without error. And so that's how the protocol came to be, that I decided driving home from work one evening that I would just come home and sit down for 2 hours and try to attempt to explain to people in written word my story, what happened to me, how I learned this information, how our bodies are like computers, how all it takes is 3.5 minutes to do this quick thing to replace missing information into the body and to make you better. And I know that because I lived it, and it's the reason I'm here. So I think the amazing part of the story is how I learned about the written word and the spoken word and the thought and the timing of learning that. because first I learned as a patient, and then I became a practitioner, and both of those were done through Vile. And then later on I learned through the written word, which led me to the spoken word, which led me to the thought, just thinking the word. So we learned that this is quantum physics, this is quantum science. I didn't make all of this up. My imagination is not this good. This is the truth. This is exactly what happened to me. This is the story, the journey that I have been on, and how it came to be that all this came to fruition. I would like to give special thanks to certain people who are very close to me and helped me do all of this, because without them and their work behind the scenes with all of this, there's no way that one person could have accomplished this whole feat. So at this time, I want to thank Gia Cozy Cameron, and I want to thank Kimberly Schultz and Mr. Eugene Irvin, along with Richard Christopher Saragoza and Bobby Lee Vaughn. Without all of you standing with me, this could not have ever come to fruition. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I would like to thank all of you for being here this afternoon on this conference call and giving us your precious time and being interested in a positive way to help yourself, and eventually that it will come to be that you will learn to help other people and do this along with them. So I thank all of you for your time at this time, and I wish all of you the very best. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to show you the energy clearing protocol. First, start out by going to the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/groups/energy clearing protocol. Once you get to that page, go to the file section, click on that. The very first file you want to print is organs, systems, and glands. Hit the download button. You'll be able to pull up the attachment. Once you pull it up, in whatever shape, form it comes up on your computer, then go ahead and print it. Once it is printed, we can start the protocol. We're going to go ahead and take the printed copy, and you're going to put it in your left hand, and you're going to start the process. First, you're going to start with, you're going to tap from the top of your head. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finish. 5, 6, 7, 8. As many times as you need to tap down to about here. And you're going to go back up. And that's one full tap. You're going to do this a total of 4 times. That was 1. That's 2. 3, 4 times. Then you're going to find the soft spot at the top of your head from your forehead back. Should be about 1/4 of an inch. You're going to take this, you're going to take your fingers, and you're going to press down in a motion, clockwise motion from right to left for 20 seconds. Count 1001, 1002, 1003 for a total of 20 seconds. When you're done with that, then you're going to move to your left hand, and you're going to go into the web of your hand with your thumb, and you're also going to massage 20 seconds from right to left, clockwise motion, and you're going to do that for 20 seconds. Then you're going to go down to your left ankle, still holding the words, and you're going to press down just below, a little bit to the front of your ankle, and you're going to clockwise motion again, 20 seconds, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. You're going to finish your full 20 seconds. Then you're going to go to your right ankle. Go to your right ankle, just above, or just below rather, the front, in that little dip section, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. a total of 20 seconds. Then you're going to go to your right hand. Same spot, the web in between your fingers. And again, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, a total of 20 seconds. You've now completed your first clearing. After that, you're going to do a full 1 to 2 liters of water to help detox everything that you just cleared out of your body. And then you're going to take a full day off, and then you'll start the next protocol. You can find that again in the files section of the website. The next section you're going to do will be foods, vitamins, hygiene products. That's the second item on the file section. You're going to do the same thing with the protocol with the clearing. You're going to take a day off. And then, of course, you're going to do your water after your clearing. 1 to 2 liters of water. And then you'll take a day off, and then you'll go to the next section. And you'll continue all the files in here. Again, a day in between. You'll clear, you'll do your water, then you'll do a day, and then you'll work on the next section. Please come in and join us in on the Facebook page and let us know how your protocol is going. And also, we can answer any questions for you at that time. Thank you for joining us. Happy clearing.